This method is fantastic for chronic fatigue, by the way, for therapists who've got burnout and chronic fatigue. If you practice GEM, it turns the whole thing around completely because you're doing your self-care and you're filling up your energy bank account. So, let's get to the heart of the matter. GEM focuses on what I call the just one thing principle. Who here has seen City Slickers, the movie? Remember Curly? Abrasive old Curly, the guy that was out in the desert on the horse. And Billy Crystal says to him, "Curly, what's the secret of life?" And he puts up his finger and he says, "It's this." He said, "What's that?" He says, "Just one thing." He said, "Well, what's the one thing?" He said, "That's up for you to find out." That's your life's work, lad. And that principle to me really strikes very true, because in this picture here, what we can do as therapists is get caught up in the patient's ripples instead of going to just one thing where a stone dropped in the water. And if we can find where the stone dropped in the water for a client, and it might be just that one thing, could be stress. This person does not handle stress well. Well, yeah, we can use all the herbal things and the supplement things, but we've got to somehow help that person appreciate the fact that they are in a stress situation and change the body. Because once we change the body, their requirements for magnesium and other things is actually going to drop, because we've made a change at a significant point where the stone has dropped in the water, i.e. stress. Stress is one example. There could be a whole host of things. So I encourage people to find out where their stone dropped. And I take that from their language, how they deliver their history, what's the most important thing that you'd like to change? And that's a question I often ask. And I say, okay, well, let's just work on that one thing. Because if you go out there in the ripples, it's really confusing. And I think that's why there's a lot of confusion in natural therapies for many people. There's so many options. Information overload, lots of ripples. Look for just one thing would be my advice. And why simple is important, particularly if you're working with people with life-threatening illness, people who've had a diagnosis of cancer in particular, but also people I have found generally in life. People who disappear psychologically when there's an argument. There might be a person standing there and having an argument with their husband, but they're not present. They're gone somewhere else. So dissociative disorders are quite big in our society at the moment. That's why we have a drug problem. People are wanting out of here. So my method in GEM is how to bring people back home. So working with people who have got PTSD, people who are early diagnosed with breast cancer, for instance, have been found to have the same levels of post-traumatic stress disorder as someone who's been in a war zone. And that's why they need help and counselling and support, because if they're trying to put on a whole lot of things out in the ripples, they're going to get more and more stressed, and they're not going to be embodied enough to take the information on and actually use it. So we're reconnecting people with their body. So GEM helps people to move from stress to freedom. Very, very simply. And as I said, you need to have learned a lot in order to not know much and how to do this, because it's got so many different skills in it. The medicine bag is actually very large, and for any of you that are here and are working in a lot of different modalities, I actually think in these days where we are hands-on therapists, it's really important that we have a large bag of modalities so that we can pull out things for various clients and not just get stuck in the one technique.